She, the only descendant of ancient Chinese martial arts and the stunning ghost hand divine doctor, once traveled through the world and became a useless miss of the Yi family. Open your eyes again, the wind and clouds surge between heaven and earth. What? Born waste. The Star of Misfortune. Very good, she will soon show them what a natural waste is and what a disaster star is. He is a revered evil emperor, mysterious, noble, and unattainable. When he met her, she avoided him like a snake or scorpion, and he entangled her like a vine. Evil emperor, it's not good, madam has run away again. Chase. Evil emperor, it's not good, madam is hiding. Look. Keywords of the novel. Poison Dr. Mad Concubine is a bit dragging without a pop-up window. Poison Dr. Mad Concubine is a bit dragging. Download the complete set of TXT. Poison Dr. Mad Concubine is a bit dragging the latest chapters to read. Chapter 1. Rebirth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Rebirth Senro Continent. South Vietnam. Ghost Street. Pain. My head seemed to explode, and my body was as painful as being crushed by a truck, very uncomfortable. Yi Firen struggled to open her heavy eyes, and the scene was pitch black. She wrinkled her nose, and the air was filled with a pungent smell of blood. Where is this? Why is she here? Isn't she betrayed by her friends, ambushed by the enemy during the mission, and died together with the enemy in the explosion? In the next moment, Yi Firen felt a severe stabbing pain in her brain, and large memories flooded in like a tide. I'll go. She unexpectedly encountered the trend of time travel and was reborn through time travel, which is really outrageous. However, dog blood belongs to dog blood, and the most important thing is that she has come back to life. Nothing is more important than being alive. She, who died with the enemy, was reborn into a young girl named Yi Firen. The original owner, Yi Fei Ran, was the eldest daughter of the Yi family in South Vietnam. Her grandfather was a respected senior in South Vietnam, and both her father and mother had outstanding talents. Unfortunately, his parents passed away unexpectedly early, and his second uncle became the temporary head of the Yi family. His second aunt, Zhu Shi, and two cousins, Yi Yuding and Yi Yue, have always regarded the original owner as a thorn in their side, only because he married the current crown prince, Huang Fuxian. In addition, the original owner cannot cultivate spiritual power. Except for the Yi family master, all other Yi family members consider the original owner a shame to the Yi family. Therefore, leaving the Yi family master's sight, the original owner lives even worse than a dog. Not bad, Senluo continent values military power, admires the strong, and despises the weak. Here, humans are divided into cultivators and ordinary people. Practitioners can cultivate spiritual power, and the higher the level of cultivation, the stronger their strength. Their strength is endless, while ordinary people cannot cultivate spiritual power and are called waste, such as the original master. Yi Firen was a terrifying spy in her past life, and she didn't even pay attention to the situation of the original owner. She sneered, since she has taken over this body, she will seek justice for the original owner one by one and make those who bully the original owner pay the price they deserve. At this moment, a faint sound of footsteps suddenly came from outside, and there was still a faint sound of speaking. "Boss, are we really going to do this? Although Miss Yi is a waste, she is at least the fiancée of the crown prince who ordered her to marry. When the crown prince discovers that she has been wearing a green hat, will she kill us? What are you afraid of? The crown prince has been trying to get rid of Miss Yi from the Yi family. Maybe the crown prince will reward us later." "Really?" "Oh, yes, Miss Yi just told us that the Miss Yi family has been poisoned with love flowers. Miss Yi and the crown prince are in love, and they will definitely give us extra rewards when the time comes." Yi Firen frowned slightly when she heard the conversation between the two. Love flower poison. She suppressed the sharp pain all over her body and reached out to rest her hand on her pulse. Sure enough, I was drugged, but it's not yet time for the attack. A chill flashed in Yi-Firen's eyes, and her mind quickly searched for memories. Second sister. Third sister. Fiancé, okay, great. I'll wait for her. As the footsteps approached, Yi-Fei's beautiful eyes scanned her surroundings sharply, grabbing the hairpin left by someone unknown. Quickly, the two of them arrived in front of Yi-Firen, and the pitch-black ruined temple was also illuminated by the torch. TSK waist, although covered in bloodstains, is at least as beautiful as a flower. Hee, little beauty, let my brother take good care of you. After speaking, one of them smiled wickedly and reached out to tear open Yi-Firen's clothes when his hand was about to touch Yi-Firen. Her tightly closed eyes suddenly opened, and a hint of killing intent flashed through her cold and sharp beautiful eyes. Seeking death. She grabbed the big man's foot with one hand and pulled with all her might, causing the unsuspecting big man to stumble and fall to the ground. Without delay, Yi-Firen sat up suddenly, his hands stained with blood fiercely hitting the big man's neck. Bang! The big man's head tilted and he completely fainted. The other big man standing on the side holding a torch looked at the scene in front of him incredulously, his eyes bulging out in surprise like dead fish. Without delay, Yi-Firen followed suit and knocked out the person who had not reacted. It's ridiculous that two such weak scumbags are trying to deal with her, a terrifying agent from a past life. Estimating that the aphrodisiac was about to erupt, Yi-Firen swiftly tied the two together. Isn't Yi-Yuting looking for someone to ruin her innocence? Then she will treat him in his own way. As she walked out of the dilapidated temple, Yi-Firen cautiously surveyed the surrounding environment and searched her memory to find out that this was the most famous ghost street in the suburbs of Kyoto. On both sides of Ghost Street, there are either ghost houses or ghost temples. It is rumored that one can see ghosts even after walking around Ghost Street, so few people come to Ghost Street, especially after nightfall. Yi-Yuting is good at choosing places. Suddenly, a gust of night breeze blew, and Yi-Fei moved her nose, feeling a hint of joy in her heart. She stepped into the ghost house on the east side of Ghost Street. The deeper you go, the stronger the medicinal taste in the air becomes. Under the moonlight, one can see a medicinal garden inside the ghost house, filled with various medicinal herbs. All of this was so strange that Yi-Firen had to be extremely vigilant in her heart. She looked around silently, without any breath. In the next moment, Buying quickly flashed through the medicinal garden and quickly picked the herbs she needed. Immediately after, Yi-Firen found a tool in the ghost house and skillfully pounded the medicinal herbs into juice to take. After 15 minutes, the love flower poison in Yi-Fei-Rant's body was released. Next, she didn't forget to take some healing medicine. After all, she had many injuries on her body. At the same time, she also made some dizziness pills, upgraded version of love flower poison, upgraded version of manic powder and other necessary medicines. Finally, she reached out to flick the grass shavings off her robe, glanced around with beautiful eyes, and politely said, "Thank you." After speaking, Yi-Firen casually turned around and left. What she didn't know was that a 4-leaf clover, 1 finger high, bounced and silently chased after it. Yi-Firen returned to the ghost temple and swiftly got the 2 big men onto the carriage, then drove the carriage towards the direction of Yi Mansion according to her memory. At the same time, the 4-leaf clover had silently wrapped itself around the ink hair behind Yi-Firen's back, and the 4 leaves were constantly swaying, with a faint expression of excitement. Whenever Yi-Firen turned her head to look back, the 4-leaf clover immediately hid, not leaking any breath. Yi-Firen didn't notice anything, frowned and murmured softly, "Strange, why do I always feel like someone is following?" Returning to the vicinity of Yi Mansion, Yi-Firen drove the carriage to a remote and secluded place, and then quietly climbed over the wall to return to Yi Mansion alone. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Blinding Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Blinding Eyes. Following the path of memory, Yi Firen dodged the gaze of the Yi Mansion guards and silently arrived at Yi Yuding's yard like a cat. She then sprinkled the medicinal powder in her arms onto the yard, causing Yi Yuding, the night guards, and servants to faint. After the medicinal powder came into effect, Yi Firen quietly infiltrated Yi Yuding's chamber and swiftly carried her onto the carriage. At this moment, Yi Firen was very grateful to the old man of the Yi family whom she had never met before. If it weren't for him constantly reminding the original owner to exercise, she might not be able to handle things so smoothly now. However, this body was eventually weak, and even flattery could not keep up with her physical fitness in her previous life. As time approached, Yi Firen fed 2 big men and Yi Yuding an upgraded version of the love flower poison. When the sky turned white with fish bellies, the carriage stopped shaking. Yi Firen drove the carriage to the front gate of Yi Mansion and quickly tied the reins to the stone lion at the entrance, while also hanging Yi Yuding's coat outside the carriage. Then, like a cat, she silently jumped onto the roof and sat down, holding a dog-tail grass in her mouth, ready to watch the big show. At the same time, Yi Fuzi Yuan. Yi Yue got up early in the morning because yesterday Yi Yuding had discussed with her that one person would be responsible for making Yi Firen lose her innocence, and the other person would be responsible for leading someone to arrest the adulterer. Yingxiang, you go to the gate to inquire about the situation. Yi Yue's eyes flickered with excitement, and once she had dealt with Yi Firen, she could proceed with the second step of the plan. Yingxiang quickly returned with a slightly excited voice, "Miss San, there is a carriage in front of the gate." Upon hearing this, Yi Yue almost couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Yingxiang, let's go. After today, there will be no more Yi Fei dying in the Yi Mansion." The master and servant walked confidently towards the gate of the Yi Mansion, with cheerful smiles on their faces. Yi Firen heard footsteps and turned her head to see Yi Yue and her master and servant, with a hint of sarcasm flashing in her eyes. She cleared her throat and deliberately changed her voice, shouting loudly, "Don't miss it if you pass by. Everyone, come and see. There is a young lady here who is flirting with a wild man on the street. If you don't look, it's worth it. Hurry up and take a look, otherwise you won't have a chance." Upon hearing this, a flash of light flashed in Yi Yue's eyes. She couldn't have imagined that her second sister Yi Yuding's arrangement was so ingenious. This time, Yi Aaron must have been ruined. The people around Yi Mansion heard such explosive words, and their hearts of gossip ignited with a loud roar. They all came to the gate of Yi Mansion to watch. "Oh my goodness! Look at that woman's coat, it looks like she's wearing top-quality attire. I wonder which aristocratic lady the woman in the carriage is from. That's right, which family's daughter is so shameless, she actually indulges in promiscuity with people on the street. Oh, in front of the gate of the Yi Mansion, shouldn't it be the daughter of the Yi family?" Upon hearing the comments of the onlookers, Yi Yue felt extremely happy. She whispered in Yingxiang's ear for a while before gesturing for her to open the door. With a squeak, Yi Yue walked out first. "Oh, whose carriage is parked in front of our Yi Mansion?" Yingxiang looked at the carriage and said in confusion. The next moment, Yi Yue's delicate voice rang out, "Yingxiang, haven't you come back since Big Sister went out last night?" Yingxiang tilted her head for a moment and then replied, "Miss San, Mista hasn't returned yet. Shouldn't she be inside the carriage?" At this point, Yingxiang pretended to be panicked and reached out to cover her mouth. Yi Firen looked coldly at Yi Yue, and White Lotus was indeed powerful. In just a few words, she successfully guided the people's speculation. However, she was very curious. What would Bai Lianhua's reaction be when she saw the people inside the carriage later? The conversation between Yi Yue and the master and servant of Yingxiang was filled with a huge amount of information, and people around him began to make various speculations. "Oh my goodness! The person inside the carriage shouldn't be Miss Yi, right? It's possible, didn't you just hear Miss Yi-san say that Miss Yi didn't come back last night? If it weren't for Miss Yi, who would have had the courage to park the carriage in front of the gate of the Yi mansion. My mother. Miss Yi is too shameless, isn't she? Even if she's useless, she still does things like flirting with people on the street. Miss Yi has really disgraced the face of the Yi family and the royal family. Listening to the onlookers cursing at Yi Firen, Yi Yue's eyes flashed with a hint of pride, and then she pretended to be stern and shouted angrily, "What are you talking nonsense about? The people who slander our Yi family will have a bad end." As soon as the words fell, most onlookers immediately fell silent. After all, the Yi family was one of the great aristocratic families in South Vietnam, and their strength should not be underestimated. But some good people are not afraid, with a slightly frivolous tone, and say, "The carriage is parked in front of your Yi mansion. Who is not from your Yi family? Not bad, there must be Miss Yi inside the carriage. Isn't it Miss Yi? Just open the car curtain and see if you know." A hint of pride flashed in Yi Yue's eyes and she continued to shout angrily, "Stop talking nonsense. How could it be my older sister? Everyone, hurry up and leave, don't misunderstand my older sister. She is innocent." Upon hearing this, Yi Firen raised her eyebrows slightly. The acting skills of this white lotus flower are really good. If it weren't for her personal experience, she would have believed the words of this white lotus. At the same time, Yingxiang walked over to the side of the carriage and reached out to grab the curtain, ready to lift it. At the next moment, with a loud bang, the carriage suddenly broke into pieces. Inside, 3 people fell to the ground one after another, appearing in disheveled clothes in everyone's sight. This scene simply blinded everyone's eyes. Yi Firen on the roof saw this scene and a happy curve curved her lips. The show has finally begun. This sudden change made the surroundings quieter. Ah! After a while, many female onlookers reacted and screamed, covering their faces one after another, while male onlookers eagerly watched the play in disgusted. "TSK TSK TSK, I never expected Miss Ye's figure to be so hot. Yeah. Although Miss Yi cannot practice, with her beauty in the brothel, she may receive some adults' protection." A brothel. Yi Firen squinted her eyes slightly and looked at the person who said these words, with a hint of coldness flashing in her eyes. Immediately after, she shifted her gaze to the ground and saw that Yi Yuding's hair was disheveled at the moment, making it impossible to see her face clearly. She curled up a sarcastic curve at the corner of her mouth, pinched her nose and said, "Oh, this woman doesn't look like Miss Yi, but rather a bit like Miss Yi Air." Yi Firen suddenly spoke out, causing everyone's gaze to immediately turn to the roof. "Oh, that's not Miss Yi. Who is that slut on the ground? Isn't it really Miss Yi Air?" Upon hearing the words, Miss Yi, Yi Yue instinctively looked up at the roof with an incredulous expression on her face. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. True Taste. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. True Taste, Waste, Why are you here? Yi Yue shouted in disbelief. How is Yi Firen on the roof? Who is that slut who is promiscuous with others? Who is the trash talking about? Yi Firen looked at Yi Yue with one hand holding her cheeks and asked with a smile on her face. "You're a waste." Yi Yue instinctively replied. Puff. Upon hearing this, the onlookers around couldn't help but laugh out loud. Miss Yi San's intelligence is a bit worrying, she actually claims to be useless. Yi Yue heard the sarcastic laughter around her and reacted. Xingmu gave a fierce glance at the people around her and said angrily, "Shut up, don't laugh." As the words fell, the laughter of the onlookers disappeared in an instant, just a flick of their shoulder, indicating that they were still giggling. Yi Yue clenched her hands and stared at Yi Firen on the roof. When did Waste become so articulate? "Waste, why are you here?" Yi Yue asked again, seemingly still not believing the facts before her. "San Mei, what do you mean by that? Why can't I be here? Does it mean San Mei thinks I should be under the carriage?" Yi Fei Ran held her cheek with one hand and looked sarcastic. Yu Yi Yue was poked in the center of her thoughts, her face turning blue and white, like a color palette. Why did things turn out like this? Everything is different from what was expected, what should we do? Yi Yue gave Yi Firen a fierce glare and ordered, Yingxiang, hurry up and inform your father and mother. Yi Firen seemed to have changed. The more she said, the more wrong she became. She absolutely couldn't get herself involved. Yingxiang responded with a shout and hurriedly ran back to the mansion. Yi Fei Ran glanced at Yingxiang's back, her eyes full of sarcasm. She wanted to see how her so-called second uncle and second aunt reacted. At the same time, Yi Yuding's messy hair, which was originally sticking to her face, was blown away by the wind at some point, revealing her beautiful appearance clearly. Look, it's really Miss Yi Er and Yi Yuding. Oh my god, it's really Miss Yi Er. She usually looks like a lady from a wealthy family, so she turned out to be a shameless slut. Miss Yi Er is even more powerful than the women in the brothel. She needs 2 men to serve her at once. In public, in the carriage, the taste is really strong. The reputation of the Yi family has really stinked up this time. Even if Miss De is useless, Miss Er is actually a slut. I wonder what kind of person Miss San is. Yi Yue heard the unpleasant comments around her and instinctively shouted angrily, shut up, say one more word, miss, I cut your tongue. As soon as the words fell, the surroundings fell silent for a moment. My mother. It turns out that Miss Yi from the Yi family is a ruthless person. Be careful when you speak, otherwise Miss Yi will launch a killing spree and cut your tongues. Hearing what the onlookers said, Yi Fei Ran couldn't help but give them a thumbs up. It was unexpected that these onlookers were so awesome. Since ancient times, rumors have been the scariest. Yi Yuding, Yi Yue, Yi Fu, this is just the beginning, there are still many surprises waiting for you in the future. Look, Master Yi and Mrs. Yi are here. Someone suddenly shouted in the crowd. The onlookers instinctively gave way. The temporary head of the Yi family, Yi Hai, and his wife Zhu Shi immediately saw the 3 people on the ground, and they almost fainted on the spot. They simply don't believe that their eldest daughter Yi Yuding, who has always been smart and steady in her work, would do such a shameful thing. Yi Hai took a deep breath and glanced at the onlookers on the outer and inner layers. It was impossible for them to seal up, and perhaps the matter had already spread. Someone immediately dispersed them. At the next moment, the well-trained Yi family guards immediately began to disperse the onlookers. However, how could onlookers be willing to leave? After all, their gossiping hearts are burning fiercely. If nothing unexpected happens, Miss Yi Er's affair with 2 wild men on the street will definitely be gossip after the South Vietnamese national tea dinner in the future. On the roof, Yi Firen calculated the time accurately, lightly jumped to the ground, and slowly walked out of the Yi mansion. At this moment, Yi Yuding and 2 big men woke up in a secluded state. A gust of wind blew over, and Yi Yuding shuddered. Upon seeing it, she realized that her clothes were messy, with 2 men lying next to her who were also disheveled. She suddenly woke up and screamed loudly. Ah! Yi Yuding sat up with a shy and angry expression on her face, frantically trying to tug at her messy clothes. Get lost, you guys. Bitch, don't look. Yi Firen looked at Yi Yuding, who was going crazy, with her hands clasped around her chest, and a sarcastic curve curved around her mouth. Yi Yuding, is this how to treat others with the same way as others? Have you experienced the despair of the original owner before his death? Yi Yuding trembled and tightly hugged herself, screaming as she stumbled towards the gate of Yi Mansion. When I was running up the stairs, I happened to bump into Yi Firen. Yi Firen raised her eyebrows slightly and instinctively pushed her hand away. Yi Yuding suddenly fell to the ground, her buttocks almost blossoming. The people around laughed even louder when they saw this scene. Is she feeling guilty? Otherwise, why are you running? What if I run back? Her name is completely stinky. Which man would be willing to marry such a promiscuous woman? That's right, thanks to my usual belief that she and His Highness the Crown Prince are a perfect match. It turns out I've taken a blind eye. His Highness the Crown Prince will never want her again. After all, marrying a promiscuous slut is better than marrying a useless person. Yi Yuding heard the 4 words, Your Highness the Crown Prince, and kept screaming, with a mournful voice. Ah! Yi Yue heard the discussions around her and looked at Yi Yuding's mournful expression. A hint of joy suddenly appeared in her heart. She looked up at Yi Firen, who was holding her chest in both hands while watching the play, with a sarcastic curve at the corner of her mouth. She was just a waste, and the second sister couldn't handle it. She could definitely handle it. But in the future, the position of His Royal Highness's fiancée A.E. Shiju saw her eldest daughter in such pain and anxiously said, Master, hurry up and have these lowly people driven away. Didn't you see that Yuding is going crazy? Yi Hai had a severe headache and said, Madam, haven't you seen the guards driving them away all the time? They are the people of South Vietnam. As one of the great aristocratic families, our Yi family must not engage in violence against them. Otherwise, how can the Yi family establish a foothold in South Vietnam? How can I explain this to my father? Zhu glanced at the onlookers who were still discussing, feeling anxious. Chilhong, hurry up and take Miss Air back. At this moment, Yi Yuding suddenly stood up and frantically rushed towards Yi Firen, who was watching with her hands wrapped around her chest. Waste, it's all you, it's you who designed me to lose my innocence. I'm going to kill you. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. So you lost your innocence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. So you lost your innocence. Yi Firen's figure dodged and she suddenly realized, second sister, so you lost your innocence. However, what does losing your innocence have to do with me? Don't spit blood out. Waste, it's you who designed me, I'm going to kill you. Yi Yuding's rationality had long lost control. She let out a loud roar and continued to pounce on Yi Firen. Those 2 big men are clearly the assassins she hired, not Yi Firen, who else designed her. Yi Firen deftly dodged Yi Yuding and spoke in a relaxed and slow tone, second sister, without evidence, it's like spitting blood out. If you say I designed you, you need to provide evidence. The onlookers who were driven away were even more reluctant to leave when they heard the conversation between Yi Firen and Yi Yuding. Yi Hai and Zhu glanced at each other, so they had to personally come forward to pull Yi Yuding back to the Yi mansion. Yi Fei Ran glanced at Yi Hai and his wife, avoiding Yi Yuding's clutches while saying seriously, second uncle, second aunt, second sister, she slandered me. I think it's better to explain it clearly in front of everyone. After all, my reputation has been ruined a lot by you, and it must not continue to be destroyed. Otherwise, how will I face my grandfather and my parents in the future? Zhu roared angrily, explain what, Yi Firen, don't you know that family shame cannot be exposed? She knew her eldest daughter's plan very well, and now Yi Firen looks different from before. She must not expose those things. Zhu directly used spiritual power to grab Yi Yuding, even preventing her from speaking. Upon seeing this, Yi Firen had a sudden realization on her face and said, so Auntie Air also knew it was a family disgrace. But why did I make a mistake before? Auntie Air never said it was a family disgrace and let Sister Air scold me in public. Zhu was immediately choked. Auntie, it's a big deal that second sister slandered me so much. We must explain it clearly in public today. Otherwise, if we close the door and deal with it, I'm afraid I won't even be able to see tomorrow's sun. No, I won't even be able to see today's sunset. As soon as Yi Firen finished speaking, the onlookers began to discuss again. What does Miss Yi mean by this? Does Miss Yi explain in public that Lady Yi is going to kill her? It's possible, otherwise why rush to bring Miss Yi back to her mansion? She must be afraid that her daughter's reputation will become even worse. Ah, this temporary representative of the Yi family leader and Mrs. Yi is too cunning. They even tried to kill the Miss Yi while the Yi family master was not at home. Although the Miss Yi cannot practice, the Yi family master treasures her. Yi Hai and Zhu almost spat out blood upon hearing this. Especially Yi Hai, his face darkened. He hated being reminded that he was only temporarily taking over the position of head of the family, which was a pain in his heart. Big brother Yi Long died over a decade ago, and the position of family head should have been taken over by his younger brother, rather than waiting for Yi Firen, a useless person, to grow up and take over the position of family head. Therefore, he has always wanted to climb up the big tree of His Highness the Crown Prince. When His Highness comes to help, will his position as the head of the family still be unstable? Ranner, you are a descendant of the Yi family. How can you speak nonsense to smear the Yi family? Yi Hai looked at Yi Firen with disappointment on his face. Hee, Yi Firen chuckled lightly and looked at Yi Hai sarcastically. Uncle Heir, who is really smearing the Yi family? You know it well. Yi Firen, solving family matters in front of everyone is smearing the Yi family. Zhu immediately cooperated, wanting to bring Yi Yuding back to the mansion. Yi Firen could naturally see her intention and reached out to stop her, sarcastically saying, Auntie, who exactly smeared the Yi family? We'll find out later. If you go to the mansion again, it proves that you are guilty. Moreover, solving family matters in public is smearing the Yi family. So why is it not smearing the Yi family when the second younger sister of junior high school solves family matters in public? Auntie, you are too selfish. Zhu wanted to refute Yi Hai's cold warning and immediately fell silent. Yi Hai looked at Yi Firen and squinted his eyes slightly. Why did Yi Firen become so powerful overnight? Did they all pretend before? The next moment, he put on a kind uncle-like expression on his face and said, Ran Air, there must be some misunderstanding here. With so many people outside, why don't we go back to the mansion to resolve the misunderstanding? Yi Firen glanced at Yi Yuding, who was being held down by Zhu, and slowly lifted a few strands of hair scattered on her face before gently blowing it. No one knew that while Yi Fei dyed and plucked her hair, a colorless and odorless powder scattered in the air, blowing towards Yi Yuding. This is an enhanced version of the maddening powder, colorless and tasteless. Yi Firen calmly let go of her hand and spoke, Misunderstandings. Where did there come so many misunderstandings? It's clear that second sister slandered me. You are second sister's biological parents, and now you just want to protect her. Immediately after, Yi Firen looked at the onlookers in front of the mansion and remained calm. Everyone, you must make a decision for Ran Air. At this moment, Yi Firen was seen as a weak person in the eyes of the onlookers, and sympathy flooded in an instant. Miss Yi, we will definitely make the decision for you. Master Yi and Lady Yi, Miss Yi is the only heir of young Master Yi. How can you treat her like this? That's right, if Master Yi doesn't handle this matter well today, he doesn't deserve to be a temporary head of the family. Yi Hai's face turned blue and white as he heard the words around him. At this moment, the manic powder on Yi Yuding's body erupted. She forcefully broke free from Zhu's grip and rushed towards Yi Firen like a madman, shouting loudly, Waste, I didn't slander you, it was you who designed me, I want to kill you, ah. A smile flashed in Yi Firen's eyes as she skillfully avoided Yi Yuding's clutches. The next moment, out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of a white figure with a flicker of light in her eyes. Yi Yuding, it's clear that you're jealous of me marrying the crown prince, hiring assassins to whip me and trying to ruin my innocence. Unfortunately, my fate is hard, and I saw through your plan and managed to avoid it. Don't you dare to admit it. I'm just going to kill you and ruin your innocence. Why don't I admit it? You're just a useless person. How do you qualify to become the crown princess? I'm not only the most beautiful woman in South Vietnam, but also a genius girl in South Vietnam. Only I deserve to be the crown prince. Yi Yuding roared wildly, with a fierce expression on her face, where could she still look like a young lady? It's too late for Yi Hai and Zhu Shi to stop Yi Yuding. As soon as the words fell, the whole room fell into a dead silence. Yi Firen sneered in her heart as she looked at Yi Yuding with a fierce expression on her face. Yi Yuding personally admitted that hiring assassins to design her would not overturn the situation, and her reputation would only become even worse. Original owner, have you seen it? Zhu was extremely anxious and quickly explained, everyone, Yuding must have been framed in talking nonsense. You must not take it seriously. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Green Hat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Green Hat. Hee hee auntie, you actually prove how second sister was framed. Otherwise, they wouldn't believe it, after all, second sister admitted it herself. Yi Firen smiled and her eyes were full of sarcasm. She looked at Zhu Shi as if she were looking at a clown, and such a clumsy explanation could also be said. Is she really considered mentally disabled when the onlookers around her? You. Zhu's chest air fluctuated violently. When did this trash become so powerful? How could the onlookers around believe Zhu's words? They immediately started discussing and pointing at Yi Yuding. Oh my goodness. I didn't expect Miss Yi Heir to frame Miss Yi like this just because she was jealous of her marriage to the crown prince. This is too scary. The head of the Yi family and Mrs. Yi are only temporarily managing the Yi family. They must want their own daughter to climb up the big tree of the crown prince, and then let their position as the head of the family be named Zhenjinshan. That's why they want to frame Yi Firen, the future legitimate head of the family. What a vicious person. Fortunately, Miss Yi of the Yi family had a great fortune and was not killed or innocent. Miss Yi Heir also suffered retribution and was caught with 2 wild men on the street. I believe that no matter how much the crown prince likes her, he will not want a broken shoe. Not bad, a pair of broken shoes and a piece of trash. In comparison, it's better to choose trash. Who would want to always wear a green hat? Upon hearing this, Yi Yuding suddenly turned around and said with a grim expression, shut up. Whoever you say is a broken shoe, I'll kill you. At this moment, Yi Firen looked up at the crowd and saw a white figure. She smiled and said, Your Highness, why did you come? How could such a big play be without scumbags? This sentence was like a thunderbolt on the flat ground, and everyone's gaze fell on Huang Fuxian. Both Yi Hai and Zhu Shi now have a strong desire to die, and this time it's really cool. Originally, with Yi Yuding's appearance and talent, she could definitely climb the big tree of Huang Fuxian. However, now Yi Yuding has not only been ruined, but also admitted to hiring assassins to kill her cousin. Not only has the face of the Yi family been disgraced, but also if Huang Fuxian pushes out his second daughter Yi Yue, he may not necessarily accept it. At the same time, the efficacy of the manic powder on Yi Yuding's body has expired. Thinking of what she had just said, Yi Yuding's face turned pale as she fell to the ground. Subconsciously, she looked at Huang Fuxian with tears in her eyes, looking weak and pitiful, which was far from her previous appearance. Yi Firen glanced at Yi Hai and Zhu Shi, her eyes full of sarcasm. She didn't care about the position of the head of the Yi family, but she definitely wouldn't let Yi Hai fulfill his wish. She glanced at Yi Yuding and then lifted her beautiful eyes to look at Huang Fuxian, whose face had already turned pale. A smile appeared on her face, Your Highness, although second sister has lost her innocence, I believe that with the deep affection between Your Highness and second sister since childhood, we will not abandon her, will we? As soon as the words fell, even Yi Yuding looked expectantly at Huang Fuxian. Huang Fuxian's face instantly became extremely ugly. What about childhood sweethearts? From the moment Yi Yuding lost her innocence, she was not worthy of him. Will the crown prince of Nanyue marry a broken shoe with lost innocence? Thinking that Yi Firen was mocking him, Huang Fuxian's face changed inexplicably. Overnight, why did the once docile waist become so sharp-tongued? Yi Firen couldn't help but chuckle softly when she saw the constipated expression on Huang Fuxian's face. Your Highness, why aren't you talking? Did Ranner say something wrong? Ranner remembers telling second sister the day before yesterday that you would definitely marry her with 10 miles of red makeup. You're going to regret it so soon. Yi Yuding still looked at Huang Fuxian with hopeful eyes, even more nervous than before. At this moment, even Yi Hai and Zhu Shi, who were already heartbroken, looked at Huang Fuxian with anticipation in their eyes. Huang Fuxian finally couldn't help but carry his hands on his back and angrily shouted, Yi Firen, what are you talking nonsense about? Yi Firen raised her eyebrows slightly and said, Your Highness, I wonder what Ranner said nonsense. Without waiting for Huang Fuxian to speak, Yi Firen's face suddenly realized, oh, I understand. Second sister's appearance is indeed not suitable for being the crown prince's consort or concubine, but I don't think it's a shame for second sister to be your concubine or maidservant now, right? Yi Firen, what nonsense are you talking about? How could my wife's daughter become a concubine and a maid? Zhu's face was full of anger. At this moment, she seemed to forget that Yi Yuding had lost her innocence. Yi Hai's face was also terrifyingly dark. Huang Fuxian, no matter how foolish he is at this moment, knows that he has been tricked by Yi Firen. Yi Yuding has lost her innocence, and she no longer has any relationship with him in terms of emotion and reason. After all, everyone knows that he will not marry a woman who has lost her innocence. Exposing this matter in front of everyone will make it difficult for him to get off the hook. If he agrees, the whole South Vietnamese country will mock him for wearing a green hat on his head. If he doesn't agree, he becomes a heartless person. Huang Fuxian's eyes were gloomy and terrifying, and he gritted his teeth and said, Yi Fei Ran, the crown prince has clearly told you today that, as well as everyone else, Yi Yuding has now lost her innocence and does not even qualify as the crown prince's maid. Yi Firen still wore a smile on her face, and her gaze fell on Yi Yuding. Seeing her gaze turn from anticipation to dullness, she couldn't help feeling good. She likes to let those who offend her experience the feeling of falling from the sky to the bottom. Second sister, have you heard that Your Highness the Crown Prince said you don't even have the qualification to be his maid? Yi Yuding hugged her head with both hands and kept shaking her head, no, woo-woo. The next moment, she rushed over and hugged Huang Fuxian's thigh, crying, Xian, you must make the decision for me. It was Yi Firen who designed me, and you must avenge me. You said you loved me, woo-woo. Huang Fuxian lowered his head and looked at the pitiful woman under his feet, with a strong disgust in his eyes. He kicked Yi Yuding away. No woman has ever had the courage to give him a green hat, but Yi Yuding did. This green hat is exceptionally green. Even if Yi Yuding is really framed, she has lost her innocence and face. No matter how outstanding her appearance and talent are, they have no effect on him at all. He looked at Yi Yuding with a disappointed expression on his face and said, Yi Yuding, the crown prince really misjudged you. You don't deserve it. When the situation reached this point, Yi Hai quickly stepped forward and respectfully bowed. Your Highness, you really misunderstood. Yuding is so kind, how could she possibly frame Ranner? There must be some misunderstanding in this. Right, Your Highness the Crown Prince, you must prove the innocence of Yuding. Zhu Shi, who was standing by, quickly spoke up. End of this chapter. What exactly do you want in Chapter 6? You are listening at novelfull.audio. What exactly do you want in Chapter 6? Yi Yuding noticed Huang Fuxian's disgusted gaze and burst into tears on the spot. Wu Xian, it was Yi Firen who designed me, really Wu. Yi Firen looked at Yi Yuding sitting on the ground with her hands clasped around her chest and slowly spoke, Second sister, you keep saying that I am a waste. How can a waste design you, a genius girl? The onlookers all agreed to speak out about the questions raised by Yi Firen. Yes, Miss Yi is just an ordinary person, while Miss Yi Air is practicing 9th level Qi. How do you design it? Ah, it shouldn't be Miss Yi heir who was caught cheating with 2 wild men and deliberately framed Miss Yi, right? Miss Yi is so pitiful, she is so weak and bullied. Does Lord Yi and Lady Yi treat Miss Yi in such a way that they deserve Mr. Yi and his deceased elder brother and sister? Law. Yi Hai's eyelids twitched and he advised with a smile on his face, everyone, there's really a misunderstanding. Don't guess anymore, go back quickly. We'll handle the affairs of the Yi family ourselves. Yi Firen sneered in her heart. Go home and handle it yourself. How could this be possible? Yi Yuding and the others designed such a big play. If she doesn't make good use of it, how can she live up to the original owner who died unjustly? Second uncle, I am the legitimate young lady of the Yi family. Now that I have been framed, shouldn't you, the temporary head of the family, handle it properly? Otherwise, how can you explain to Grandpa when he comes back? Yi Haidun was choked and his gaze towards Yi Firen finally changed. This useless person has indeed changed, but she must not be allowed to succeed. Huang Fuxian lowered his eyes, with a flash of light in his eyes. He carried his hands on his back and said, Master Yi, you should handle this matter in front of everyone. The Crown Prince still needs to leave in advance. After speaking, Huang Fuxian turned around and strode away. He didn't want to let this muddy water tarnish his reputation. Yi Firen looked at Huang Fuxian's back and sneered in her heart, saying that since ancient times, royal children have been the most heartless. Huang Fuxian, this scumbag, she will slowly clean up in the future. Yi Hai looked at the figure of Huang Fuxian leaving and clenched his hands before releasing them. Ranner, if Yuding really sets you up, according to family law, Yuding's entire cultivation will be ruined, and then he will be sent to another courtyard, never to step into the Yi family. Pucci, Yi Firen chuckled lightly and asked with her hands clasped around her chest, Second uncle, Yi Yuding admitted to it personally. Is there anything else if? Yi Hai took a deep breath, suppressed his emotions, and gritted his teeth as he said, Now I declare that Yi Yuding has framed her cousin, and the evidence is conclusive. She has lost all her cultivation. Someone will immediately send Yi Yuding to the execution hall. Master. Zhu looked at Yi Hai with a disapproving expression, blocking in front of Yi Yuding. Yi Hai gave Zhu a steady glance. Zhu was stunned for a moment, then understood and immediately burst into tears. Wu Master, you can't do this to Yuding. At the same time, 2 Yi family guards have already carried the already desperate Yi Yuding back to the Yi mansion. Immediately after, Yi Hai looked at the people around him and said, Everyone, I have dealt with this matter according to family law. Let's disperse. Yi Firen glanced at Yi Hai with beautiful eyes and smiled at the people around her, saying, Everyone, thank you all for your help today, but I have one more thing for everyone present to witness. Miss Yi, you're welcome. This is what we should do. Miss Yi, please tell us that we can all witness. The people around looked at Yi Firen, with a bright smile on her face, and spoke one after another. Seeing this, Yi Hai on the side almost spat out old blood. Yi Firen is a waste, why did she gain so much love from the people? Uncle Heir, is the anger on your face giving birth to Ranner's anger? Yi Firen looked at Yi Hai with a smile on her face. Being poked at the center, Yi Hai's face became even worse. However, thinking that Yi Yuding's matter still needed to be dealt with by him, and not knowing what Yi Firen was up to, he suppressed his anger and forced a stiff smile on his face. Ranner, how could second uncle be angry with you? You've been overthinking. Take a look at your dirty clothes, go back and change them quickly. Yi Firen kept looking at Yi Hai, naturally not missing the murderous aura that flashed through his eyes, and a slight imperceptible curve curved his lips. Uncle Heir, I have something to discuss with you. Yi Hai's eyelids twitched and he looked at Yi Firen warily, you say. I want to take back everything that belongs to my legitimate daughter of the Yi family, Yi Firen said with a cold smile. According to memory, when Grandpa Yi was at home, she lived the life that a legitimate daughter should have. However, if she left Grandpa Ye's sight, she lived worse than a dog, and the servants in the mansion bullied her. In fact, she can choose to leave the Yi family now, but the Yi family has a loving grandfather and she doesn't want the Yi Hai family to succeed, so she must stay now. In a simple sentence, there is a huge amount of information, and smart people can understand a bit of the truth with just a little careful consideration. Yi Hai looked at Yi Fei Ran and a hint of murderous intent flashed in his eyes once again. "Ranner, what are you saying?" "Second uncle can't understand," Yi Hai asked in confusion. A meaningful smile curved from the corner of Yi Fei's mouth as she approached Yi Hai's ear and whispered, "Second uncle, do you still not understand why Yi Yuding ended up like this?" Upon hearing this, Yi Hai couldn't believe it and looked at Yi Fei Ran. Although he knew that Yi Fei Ran had used her own way to treat her, he remembered that Yi Yuding had suddenly lost control of her emotions just now, and a cold wave surged from her feet, reaching her heart. Medicine. Witchcraft. Did Yi Feiren understand medicine or did she practice some kind of magic? Or perhaps there is any expert behind Yi Feiren's back who can help. Yi Feiren noticed the change in Yi Hai's emotions and continued, "Second uncle, don't think I didn't know that second aunt and third sister were also involved in this matter." Yi Hai's pupils suddenly shrank and he said, "Yi Feiren, what do you really want?" Yi Feiren wrapped her hands around her chest and her tone became cold. "I'm just asking you, do you agree or not?" Yi Hai noticed the change in Yi Feiren's overall demeanor, and the alarm sounded in his heart. After hesitating for a while, he gritted his teeth and said, "I promise." He has lost one daughter now, and he must never lose a capable wife and another daughter again. Yi Feiren nodded lightly and looked at the people around her with a smile. "To be honest, everyone, I don't believe what my second uncle said, so I think he must make a blood oath in front of you today, don't you think?" At this moment, many people had already figured out the meaning of Yi Feiren's previous sentence, and their eyes towards Yi Hai were filled with contempt. Yi Hai is clearly occupying the magpie's nest. Miss Yi is right. Yi Eri, hurry up and make a blood oath. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Making a Blood Oath. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Making a Blood Oath. Upon hearing the words, Yi Er Yi, Yi Hai felt a surge of blood and energy in his heart. He hadn't heard these three words for a long time. These three words are a shame to him, constantly reminding him that he is just a temporary head of the family. Ranner, are you so skeptical of Uncle Heir? And you have already enjoyed everything about the legitimate daughter of the Yi family, now, second uncle, stop talking nonsense and make an oath quickly. My time is precious. Before Yi Hai could finish speaking, Yi Feiren interrupted him. Facing Yi Feiren's gaze, Yi Hai knew he had no room for maneuver. After a fierce internal struggle, he gritted his teeth and made a blood oath. I, Yi Hai, hereby swear to restore the treatment of all legitimate daughters of Yi Fei Ran from today on. If I violate this oath, heaven and earth will be executed together. As the words fell, a burst of light flashed, and the blood oath was established. Yi Feiren looked up at Yi Hai with a smile on her face and said, "Second uncle, you should add that no one can bully me." Upon hearing this, Yi Haidong glared angrily. No one is allowed to bully her. If he were to say this, wouldn't he have to constantly protect her? This is simply a pipe dream. The next moment, Yi Fei's angry and desperate voice rang out again. However, it's okay. I remember my grandfather said, second uncle is just a temporary head of the family, and his power cannot match that of my legitimate daughter. Puff, Yi Hai couldn't help but spray a mouthful of old blood. Yi Feiren coldly glanced at Yi Hai and looked at the people around her. She smiled and said, "Everyone, thank you all for your help, Ranner. Please go back." Immediately after, the people around them greeted Yi Feiren and turned around to leave. Seeing this, Yi Hai couldn't help but spray a mouthful of old blood again. Puff, without even glancing at Yi Hai, Yi Feiren strode into Ye's mansion. "Second uncle, don't forget your blood oath. Yi Hai looked at Yi Firen's back and his face became fierce. He reached out and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and angrily went back to the mansion to arrange things. Yi Firen had just walked into the Fenghua pavilion with her front foot, when two maids arrived with their back foot. They quickly walked up to Yi Firen and respectfully bowed, "I have seen Mississippi." Yi Firen glanced at the two maids, her lips curved, and said, "Oh. It seems that Yi Hai's speed is very fast." Immediately after, Yi Firen walked over to the stone table and sat down, asking with a smile on her face, "Speak up. Who is your master?" The two maidservants looked at each other quickly and said in unison, "Miss, the master of the maidservants is naturally you." He, Yi Firen chuckled lightly and looked at them with beautiful eyes. Her tone was neither tight nor slow, "I hope so. Otherwise, I'll find out that you have another master, and the outcome won't be good. If you want to give it a try, I don't mind at all." The two maidservants lowered their heads and clenched their hands tightly, clearly feeling very uneasy. After all, they had heard about it, and the head of the household was forced to make a blood oath by the young lady. Yi Firen glanced at them and a cold curve curved her lips. "Let me introduce myself," she said, "Maid Chunlan. Maid Qiu. I want to take a shower and have lunch." Yi Firen spoke lazily and then walked to the beautiful woman's bed, lying down with her beautiful eyes closed, unsure of what she was thinking. Chunlan and Qiu respectfully responded and then divided their actions. When they left, Yi Firen began to stroll around the Fenghua Pavilion. Fenghua Pavilion is a courtyard specially built by Mr. Yi for Yi Firen. The pavilions and pavilions in the pavilion, with flowing water and stunning scenery, are like the scenery in a painting, breathtaking. Suddenly, Yi Firen's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. "Oleander. Who planted oleander here?" "Oleander blooms in spring, summer, and autumn every year. It is a flower that can be both ornamental and therapeutic, as well as toxic. Its stems, leaves, and even flowers are poisonous. Oleander will secrete a milky white liquid, which can cause poisoning and symptoms such as drowsiness and decreased intelligence if exposed to it for a long time." Thinking of this, Yi Fei's lips curved with a sarcastic curve. She wanted to see who had planted oleander here, and she would definitely let him experience the more severe pain than oleander poisoning. As soon as Yi Firen stepped into her boudoir, Chunlan quickly walked up to her and respectfully said, "Miss, the hot water is ready, and I will serve you to take a bath." Yi Firen originally intended to refuse, but on second thought, she walked towards the bathtub behind the screen without saying anything. Chunlan immediately walked over to help Yi Fei-ran take off her clothes. She kept her head down and didn't dare to look at Yi Fei-ran, showing a genuine servant. When all she had left on her body were her belly pocket and loot pants, Yi Fei-ran looked at Chunlan with beautiful eyes and asked with a smile on her face, "Are you afraid or not when you see the scars on my body?" Chunlan looked up quickly at the shocking scars on Yi Firen's body, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. She lowered her head and didn't know how to answer. Yi Firen remained silent and paid attention to Chunlan's reaction. Seeing Chunlan's emotions flowing freely, she was very certain that Chunlan was definitely not an ordinary maid. "If you are brave enough to betray me, the scars on your body will be 100 times more severe than mine. Do you believe it?" "Miss, I dare not," said Yi Firen lightly, causing Chunlan to tremble all over. "Let's step back," said Yi Firen with a faint curve on her lips. "Yes." Chunlan responded and withdrew. Yi Firen walked into the bathtub and the pain spread throughout her body, but there was no expression of pain on her face. Half a quarter of an hour later, Yi Firen walked out from behind the screen. Chunlan heard footsteps and reached out to knock on the door. "Miss, the master has sent Dr. Tong to treat your injury." "Dr. Tong is currently waiting outside," she said. Yi Firen glanced at the scar on her hand and thought for a moment before speaking. "Let her in." Soon, a female doctor dressed in white clothes with her hair tied up high walked in. Tong Yisin has met Mississippi. Yi Firen nodded and gestured for Tong Yisin to come and help her pulse. Tong Yisin's slender fingers rested on Yi Fei Rant's pulse, and then examined the scar on Yi Fei Rant's hand. He said solemnly, "Miss, you've been suffering from malnutrition lately, just take good care of yourself. There's no other problem. As for the wound on your body, I have prepared a plaster myself. If you persist in applying it for half a month, it will heal without leaving any scars." "Oh, what ointment? Let me see." Yi Firen spoke lightly. She was originally a ghostly doctor, and malnutrition and wounds on her body were just a piece of cake for her. The reason why she made Tong Yisin see it was just to know if the Yi Hai family would take action. Tong Yisin handed the ointment to Yi Fanran and stopped speaking. Yi Firen opened the bottle cap and the smell of the ointment drifted out. Just by smelling it, Yi Firen knew the ingredients of the ointment. "Did you mix it yourself?" End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Picking Matters in the Library. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Picking Matters in the Library. Yes, Tong Yisin glanced at Yi Firen and replied truthfully. Yi Firen nodded lightly and then closed the lid. Tong Yisin is a material that can be created, but she is someone who doesn't know who she is. If not, Yi Firen raised her beautiful eyes to look at Tong Yisin and asked, "Do I have any other health problems?" "Miss, apart from malnutrition, I can't see any other problems," Tong Yisin immediately replied. But at the same time, a hint of doubt arose in her heart. "Is there any other health issue with the young lady?" Yi Firen raised her eyebrows slightly and said, "Step back. I'm hungry." "Yes." After Tong Yisin withdrew, Chiujiu immediately served the vegetables. Yi Firen glanced at the sumptuous lunch, glanced at Chiujiu, and said, "Do you think anyone will poison these dishes?" Chiujiu looked at Yi Firen in surprise and immediately replied, "Miss, these dishes are all handled by maids and will not be poisonous." "Really? But in the Yi family, I only trust Grandpa. Why don't you give me a try?" Yi Fei Ran looked at Chiujiu with beautiful eyes, not missing any change in her expression. "Yes." Autumn Chrysanthemum responded and immediately lowered her head to try each dish, with no significant change in her expression. After lunch, Yi Firen asked Chunlan to apply medicine for her and lay down in bed to rest. After tossing and turning for so long, she felt completely exhausted as soon as she lay down. At present, Yi Hai, who has made a blood oath, will not make any movements in the short term, and she can sleep peacefully. As for Yi Yuding's matter, she is very much looking forward to how the Yi Hai couple will handle it, and also very much looking forward to what surprises Yi Yuding will bring to her. After Yi Firen fell into a deep sleep, the four-leaf clover that had been hiding in her dark hair slowly emerged. I saw 4 tender green leaves shaking a few times before flying out the window and landing steadily on the oleander. In the next moment, its whole body color became indistinguishable from that of an oleander. Yi Firen slept until the next morning before waking up. Immediately after, she had breakfast and went directly to the library of the Yi family, while Chunlan and Chiujiu waited outside. Elder Yi, who was responsible for guarding the library, was surprised when he saw Yi Firen. "Miss, why did you come to the library today? Didn't she never come to die before?" Yi Firen greeted the third elder of the Yi family with a smile and said, "Good morning, third elder." Upon hearing this, the third elder looked surprised. By the time he realized it, Yi Firen had already entered the library. The third elder looked at Yi Firen's back and muttered, "Has Miss really changed?" Yi Firen walked into the library and purposefully selected books to read. Due to her unforgettable ability since childhood, she finished reading a book at once. The third elder saw Yi Firen constantly flipping through the pages and sighed lightly, looking disappointed. It seemed that he had thought too much. "Flipping so fast, are you really reading a book? It's just nonsense." Time slowly passed, and Yi Firen read several books, all about this continent. At the same time, she also gained a deeper understanding of this continent. At this moment, the children of the Yi family entered the library one after another. As one of the great aristocratic families of South Vietnam, the Yi family has numerous martial arts secrets in the library, so the children of the Yi family often run to the library whenever they have time. However, there is a limit on the time they can enter the library every day, and each person can only read for 2 hours a day, with the exception of one person, Yi Firen. As a legitimate young lady, Yi Firen can enter the library at any time and read for a long time without any problem, which makes the children of the Yi family both envious and resentful. Unfortunately, the original owner was unable to cultivate and rarely came to the library. As soon as Yi Yue walked into the library, she saw Yi Firen and a chill flashed in her eyes. She cast a beautiful glance at the woman in pink next to her. Yi Yeshuang. Yi Yeshuang is a young lady belonging to the Yi family. Since Yi Hai became the temporary head of the Yi family, she has been pleasing Yi Yue. Therefore, with a glance from Yi Yue, she immediately understood and sarcastically said, "Oh, isn't this our Miss Yi from the Yi family? But what's the use of a useless person who can't practice reading?" Unfortunately, Yi Firen pretended not to have heard anything and continued reading. Yi Yeshuang suddenly felt angry in her heart. She took a small step in front of Yi Firen, took a glance at the books on the ground, and suddenly chuckled softly, "Hee, I thought Miss was reading some books." It turns out she was reading the history of the Senluo continent. However, Miss cannot practice, and when she comes to the library, she can only read such useless books. As soon as the words fell, the library was filled with sarcastic laughter. Yi Firen didn't want to talk to them at first, but the surrounding environment was too noisy, so she slowly lifted her beautiful eyes, and her eyes were icy cold. Yi Yeshuang was startled when she met Yi Firen's eyes. What a sharp gaze! When did Yi Firen's momentum become so fierce? Yi Yue noticed Yi Firen's gaze and was also surprised. Her hands under her sleeves clenched slightly. Father is right, Yi Firen has really become different, no longer the submissive Yi Firen used to be. But why did she change overnight? Yi Firen glanced at the person in the library with beautiful eyes, and a cold voice sounded, "Enter the library without making noise, otherwise drive out." As the words fell, the faces of the children of the Yi family around them, including Yi Yue and Yi Yeshuang, suddenly changed. Before they could speak, Yi Firen's cold voice rang out again. "Are you getting out on your own, or should I have someone throw you out?" Ha ha ha! Yi Yeshuang seemed to hear some big joke and burst out laughing, obviously forgetting what had scared Yi Firen's eyes just now. "Waste, what are you saying? Let's get out of here. Throw us out. Haha, what qualifications do you have to let us leave? The martial arts secrets in the library are for us cultivators to learn, and you are a waste without even the qualification to read them." Yi Firen glanced at Yi Yeshuang, stood up suddenly, reached out and flicked her robe. Her pretty face suddenly smiled and her cherry lips parted slightly. "Miss, I want you to see if Miss is qualified," she said. Yi Yue and Yi Yeshuang looked at Yi Firen and didn't know what she was going to do. However, they thought that she was just a waste, and they all put on good looks. The three elders naturally have a clear understanding of what happened in the library. The reason why he didn't take immediate action was naturally to see how Yi Firen would handle it. Yi Firen glanced at the position of the third elder and raised her voice slightly, "Third elder, do you think I have the right to let them get out?" The third elder didn't expect Yi Firen to call him directly. A hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, and then he stroked his white beard and walked out. The crowd looked nervously at the third elder, unsure of how he would handle it. After all, they had never experienced such a thing before. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Get out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Get out. Elder Ye's gaze remained fixed on Yi Firen, with a joyful curve rising from the corner of her lips. Just now, he was not sure if the young lady had changed, but now he is very certain that she has changed. Cough and cough, the three elders coughed lightly and their expressions instantly became serious. Miss, of course you have the right to get out of here. Have you forgotten the rules of the library? As the voice fell, everyone's faces turned red and embarrassed. Yi Yeshuang noticed the reproachful gaze around her, and her eyes instantly filled with mist, looking pitiful and delicate. However, she hated Yi Firen to death in her heart. If it weren't for her, she wouldn't be so embarrassed today and wouldn't have lost 2 hours of reading time. As for Yi Yue, she immediately calmed down and respectfully bowed, "Third elder, we have made a mistake and will not make it again in the future. Let's leave the library now." After speaking, Yi Yue glanced at the people around her and took the lead in leaving. Just as she took 2 steps, Yi Firen's voice rang out. "Didn't I ask you to get out? If you don't know the difference between walking and rolling, miss, I can have someone demonstrate it to you." Upon hearing this, everyone's faces changed once again. Get lost. The trash actually made them roll out. This is simply a great shame. Waste, don't go too far. Yi Qiming was the first one who couldn't help but shout out loud. Although the others did not speak, they all had an angry expression on their faces. Yi Fei Ren glanced at them with beautiful eyes and chuckled softly, "Hee, this young lady is too much. What about you? It's not too much for you to insult this young lady one by one, isn't it? You're already a waste, we're just being honest." Yi Qiming frowned and looked up. "Is it useless?" Yi Firen curled her lips slightly. The next moment, Yi Firen's figure came to Yi Qiming like a ghost in an instant. Before Yi Qiming could react, his neck was grabbed by Yi Firen. The 3 elders were shocked and they saw this scene. Such a fast body technique, even he may not be as good as the young lady. Is it true that Miss has been practicing all these years and always pretends to do so? Waste, what are you doing? Yi Qiming struggled subconsciously, but unfortunately, Yi Firen's hand was like an iron wall, and he couldn't even break it open. What are you doing? Naturally, let's see what a waste is. Yi Firen said with a smile. Yi Qiming only felt that his breathing became increasingly difficult, and even the veins on his forehead erupted. He looked at Yi Firen's smile, as if seeing the smile of the king of hell, and a hint of fear instantly appeared in his heart, even forgetting what he could do with his spiritual power. "Miss, I was wrong. Please let go of me." Yi Yue and Yi Yeshuang looked at the scene before them with disbelief on their faces. When did Yi Firen become so powerful? She had no spiritual fluctuations on her body. Yi Firen raised her eyebrows slightly and glanced at the people around her, still smiling as she said, "Did you really know your mistake?" "I really realized my mistake," Yi Qiming quickly replied. After Yi Firen let go, Yi Qiming gave her a frightened look and immediately rolled away from the library. He is really afraid of Yi Firen. If he doesn't admit his mistake, she will really kill him. Yi Firen nodded in satisfaction and looked at Yi Yue and others with a smile. "What about you?" "Waste, we have violated the regulations of the library. We can leave, but it is absolutely impossible for us to roll away." "Not bad, if you say, 'Get out,' then we have to get out." "Why?" Yi Firen looked at them with beautiful eyes as cold as ice, and said clearly word by word, "As long as I am a legitimate young lady." As the words fell, everyone's faces turned pale and blue, and many even clenched their fists, with the sound of gurgling echoing one after another. The difference between legitimate and collateral lineages is only one word, but their status and status are vastly different. Yi Firen is a useless person who cannot cultivate, but she is a legitimate young lady. They have been unhappy in their hearts for many years. Yi Yue naturally didn't want to roll out and pondered her words. Her voice was soft and gentle, "Big sister, Sister Yeshuang, she didn't mean it. I hope Big Sister, for the sake of Yue's face, won't argue with Sister Yeshuang or with them. After all, everyone is a disciple of the Yi family." At this moment, Yi Yeshuang and her companions cast grateful glances at Yi Yue. Yi Fei Ran looks up at Yi Yue, and a sarcastic arc comes to her mouth. Big sister. Who are you called? I don't have any brothers or sisters. Upon hearing this, Yi Yue's face suddenly turned a bit pale. Without waiting for her to speak, Yi Firen continued to sarcastically say, also, do you have any face to show me? Yi Yue's face turned even paler, and a mist appeared in her eyes. Her voice choked up and she said, Sister, Yue is just begging you not to argue with them. If you really want to argue, let Yue replace them. The disciples of the Yi family around them were even more grateful to Yi Yue when they heard her words, and even felt that only someone like Yi Yue was worthy of being the legitimate young lady of the Yi family. A flash of light flashed in Yi Firen's eyes as she wrapped her hands around her chest and said, all right. Since you're willing, let's take their place and get out. There are 12 people in total, 20.2, so you can get out 12 times. As soon as the words fell, the entire library instantly fell silent. Everyone looked at Yi Firen with disbelief on their faces. Yi Yue clearly did not expect that Yi Firen would not play cards according to common sense, and her face would instantly turn pale like a ghost. How could things develop to this extent? What should I do? Yi Yeshuang noticed Yi Yue's pale face and quickly spoke up, Waste, don't go too far. How could you treat Miss San like this? You're just a waste. The leader of the Yi family now is the Yi Hai family, and Miss San is already a legitimate young lady. Upon hearing Yi Yeshuang's words, Yi Yue's eyes flickered and her face no longer looked so pale. Not bad, she is also a legitimate young lady, and her father is still in charge of the Yi family today. The disciples around also nodded in agreement, looking at Yi Firen with disgust in their eyes. Yi Fei Ran glanced at them with beautiful eyes and silently noted their ugly faces. With a smile, she said, oh, if I remember correctly, Yi Hai is just a temporary head of the family. Can a temporary head of the family, a temporary legitimate young lady, be compared to this legitimate young lady? Is it because Uncle Heir wants it? The last sentence, Yi Firen's tone was particularly meaningful. After speaking, Yi Yue's face turned pale like a ghost again, her hands clenched slightly, and her beautiful eyes glared at Yi Yeshuang with displeasure. Yi Yeshuang's heart suddenly thumped, not understanding what she had said wrong. Big sister, say one more thing, big sister, be careful of your tongue. Yi Firen interrupted Yi Yue with a smile, but her eyes were icy cold. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Great Shame and Shame. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Great Shame and Shame. Yi Yue was startled by Yi Firen's cold gaze, swallowed her saliva, and then continued, Miss, Sister Yeshuang only spoke nonsense when she was dizzy with anger. You must not take it seriously. Yi Yue, is that how you bought people's hearts? Since that's the case, I'll help you. Hurry up and get out 12 times. Yi Firen sneered. Yi Yue blinked her eyes filled with mist, and her voice choked up a bit. Miss Yue, get lost now. Miss San, no way, we can just get out by ourselves. That's right, let's get out on our own. Everyone spoke up one after another, their eyes fixed on Yi Firen like sharp knives. Yi Yue looked up at them, with a pale smile on her face, and said softly, This is the order of the young lady. How can Yue not obey? You must also obey the order of the young lady. Everyone looked at Yi Yue and their emotions became even more complicated. Yi Firen raised her eyebrows slightly, her beautiful eyes fixed on Yi Yue, and a sarcastic curve curved her lips. In contrast, Yi Yue's scheming is much more powerful than Yi Yuding's. Today's move will surely earn her the gratitude and loyalty of these 12 disciples of the Yi family. Immediately after, Yi Yue took a step forward and pretended to roll. Yi Yeshuang walked up to Yi Yue with one swift step, stopped her, and then looked at Elder San in an anxious tone, saying, Elder San, are you just watching Miss San roll out? Yi Yue lowered her eyes, slightly clenched her hands, and a hint of nervousness appeared in her heart. She is also a genius girl of the Yi family, and the three elders will help her, right? The three elders gently stroked the white beard and glanced at Yi Firen, who was calm and composed. This is the decision of the young lady, and I have no right to interfere, they said calmly. A simple sentence clearly indicates his attitude. Yi Firen glanced at the third elder, and a slight imperceptible curve curved her lips. The Yi family still had good eyesight. Yi Yeshuang looked at the third elder with disbelief on her face and said, "Third elder, third miss has outstanding talent. As the elder of the Yi family, you actually protect a useless person who cannot practice. Do you deserve the Yi family?" Upon hearing this, the three elders furrowed their brows in displeasure, and their breath instantly spread throughout Yi Yeshuang's body. Puff! Yi Yeshuang only practiced the 5th level of Qi, and couldn't withstand the pressure of the foundation building period. She knelt down on the ground all at once, spitting blood from her mouth. Yi Yeshuang, insulting the legitimate young lady deserves punishment. If you continue to insult the young lady, I will definitely expel you from the Yi family and never step into the middle. Yi Yeshuang looked up at the three elders, her eyes filled with fear. In the next moment, her eyes turned white and she fainted. Everyone looked down at this scene, not daring to reveal their grandeur. Although the third elder is responsible for guarding the library, his status is higher than that of other elders because his strength is the same as that of the Yi family's old man, who is building a foundation of 9 levels. Yi Yue glanced at Yi Yeshuang, took a deep breath, and rolled out directly. Once, twice, 12 times. Yi Yue lay on the ground covered in dirt, her beautiful eyes fixed on Yi Firen, and the hatred in her eyes grew stronger. This time it was a great shame. She remembered that she would definitely make Yi Firen repay it 100 times, 1,000 times. The other disciples of the Yi family gave Yi Firen a fierce glance, then quickly left with Yi Yue and Yi Yeshuang. Chunlan and Qiuju watched this scene with mixed emotions. Yi Firen glanced at them and looked up at the third elder. She raised her eyebrows and said, "Third elder, your ability to navigate the wind is not bad." The third elder was slightly taken aback and smiled, "Thank you very much, Mississippi. I hope Miss will let bygones be bygones." Let bygones be bygones. It depends on your performance. After speaking, Yi Firen reached out and flicked her tattered robe, walking towards the library to continue reading. The three elders looked at Yi Firen's back and shook their heads with a smile. As long as the future of the Yi family is promising, Yi Firen doesn't care about him no matter what. The news of Yi Yue leaving the library quickly spread throughout the entire Yi family, with most people feeling even more disgusted by Yi Firen and feeling angry for her. Only a small number of people were in a wait-and-see attitude. After all, as soon as Yi Firen returned yesterday, she publicly exposed Yi Yuding and even made Yi Hai make a blood oath in public. Today, Yi Yue suffered a lot of humiliation, and these incidents all indicate that Yi Firen has really changed. Yi Hai and Zhu had just finished dealing with Yi Yuding's matter when they heard about Yi Yue's situation and hurriedly went to the Rose Pavilion. Zhu saw Yi Yue, who was dirty all over, with a heart-wrenching expression on her face. "Yue, how are you doing?" When Yi Yue saw her parents, she immediately shed tears of grievance and said, "Woo-woo Dad, Mom." Zhu tightly hugged Yi Yue, checked her condition, and only comforted her after confirming that she was not injured. "Yue, don't cry, quickly tell your parents what's going on." Yi Yue wiped her tears and added fuel to the story of the library. "Damn it. We gave the third elder so many herbs, and he actually protected that useless Yi Firen," Zhu said with a gloomy expression. Yi Hai's face didn't improve much either. He gritted his teeth and said, "I'll go find Yi Chongqing and ask him clearly now." "Dad, no way." Yi Yue quickly stopped. Yi Hai and Zhu Shi both looked at Yi Yue with a puzzled expression on their faces. "Yue, why is this? Yi Chongqing has collected our herbs, and he should be protecting you." Yi Yue raised a bitter smile on her face and said, Dad, the third elder has clearly stood on Yi Firen's side. His strength is the 9th level of building a foundation. Can you beat him? Upon hearing this, Yi Hai's face immediately became even more gloomy. Master, I can't swallow this breath. I must teach Yi Firen and Yi Chongqing a lesson. Our Rain Ting, sob, Zhu said as she looked at Yi Hai with a still atmospheric expression. Yi Hai painfully closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Madam, don't worry, I will definitely find a way to teach them a good lesson. Yi Yue looked up at her parents quickly, lowered her eyes, and a tingling pain flashed in her heart. Yi Yuding has been destroyed, why is she still so important in the hearts of her parents? Is it just because Yi Yuding has gained the favor of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince? Thinking of this, Yi Yue looked up at Zhu Shi and asked in a low voice, Mother, what do you plan to do on the Crown Prince's side? Zhu and Yi Hai looked at each other, but their faces were not very good. Yue, don't worry about the Crown Prince's affairs, and don't provoke Yi Firen for the time being. My mother and father have important matters to discuss now. You go take a shower first. Zhu Shi smiled and said. My daughter knows. Yi Yue lowered her eyes and concealed her emotions after Yi Hai and Zhu Shi left. Yi Yue lifted her head and a thick pain appeared in her eyes. Where can't she compare to Yi Yuding? End of this chapter.